All right. Hello, everybody. Justin Stivers. Thank you guys for tuning in for the Stivers Show. New name, which we're testing out. Very not super original, but anyways, excited. You know, depending on when you guys are watching this, we're recording this today, March 25th, in the midst of the zombie apocalypse currently going on out there. So first and foremost, hope everyone is staying safe, staying healthy, staying inside, and all of that. So we'll see where we're at. Hopefully, when this airs, we're in a little bit better of a place than where we're at right now, but just taking it day by day. So when I scheduled this, we did not anticipate it being the way it is. So things have changed a little bit. But anyways, very excited to have on the show today Mr. Zack Bush. Zack, what's going on, sir?
How are you? Thank you so much for having me. I'm sorry we're not meeting in person, but we got to keep that.
Yeah, we're adapting. We're adapting with the times. But Zack, if you don't know the name, you should, but you definitely know a lot of his businesses out there. Ball and Chain being one of them, Los Altos, Taquerias El Mexicano, and Mad Room Hospitality.
Hospitality, yes.
Yeah. And also best-selling author of a children book. So we'll talk about that as well. So, brother, thank you for being on the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Where I always kind of like to start is, just to give our audience a little bit of an idea of who you are and how you got into all this. I know we were talking before we got on the air that, you don't necessarily have a hospitality background, but you're very much at the forefront of hospitality here, certainly in South Florida. So maybe we'll just start, man. Who are you? How'd you
I do have a hospitality background. Just how I got there. Okay. How I got there was a little bit interesting.
Okay, yeah, shoot.
So basically, my family was in the waste and recycling business. I grew up in that business since I was old enough to drive pretty much. I learned that business and worked down there. I have an older brother who is 3 years older than I am. And literally from the time I was 15, 16 years old, every summer, every Christmas break, every vacation, we were down there learning the family business. Fast forward to, I graduated from Emory University in the year 2000. And as graduation was approaching, it was always known that I was welcome to work in the family business. But as it got closer and closer, I got a little bit scared. Is this really the path that I want to take in life? So I really, spent a great deal of time agonizing over this decision. And at the end of the day, whether I wanted to pursue something that I felt was more to my passion or go with my family business. And at the end of the day, I studied business in college, which I recommend for anyone who does not know what they want to study in undergrad. I think that it gives you a great background and a great knowledge base to go into business for yourself, whether it's then or years down the road.
That's a great advice, because I didn't know what I wanted to study, and I studied philosophy and religion, which has not been super helpful.
Well, okay, there you go. So long story short, I decided that I had too great of an opportunity that people and many of my friends at the time would have died for, to go in and work with a family business and really, start something that we not start something because it was already established, but really go work with my brother and my father and build a business that would in essence be mine from day one. It's something that I was very fortunate to have access to. So that's the path that I ended up deciding. And early on, I recognized that my passions were not fulfilled. So almost immediately, I felt a void. There's nothing glamorous about waste and recycling. So basically, to make a long story short, I taught myself to DJ. And within a couple of months, I was DJing several hip hop rooms, hip hop parties. Then at that time, DJs were not nearly as well paid and revered as they are today. I wanted to be on the other side of the booth where all the people were, and I started throwing my own parties. So at the time, my best friend and I, a girl, Erica, freshman at the time, we started throwing many, many parties on Miami Beach on our own, starting with Townhouse Hotel on Friday nights, Sky Bar on Thursdays, Delano on Sundays. And we really concentrated on hotels because we weren't really nightclub people. And I did that for many, many years, burning the candle at both ends, which is easier to do when you're younger, until a time where my real job, became too much for me to burn the candle at both ends. So I stepped away from that. Now you're talking about maybe 7, 8 years later. So I spent a great deal of time doing that. It was financially very rewarding. It was socially very rewarding. And I mention it because years later, when we had an exit from the waste and recycling business in about 2011, it was not a yacht and a penthouse type money that we were offered. It was basically someone offers you $1.05 for something worth $1. You think long and hard about it.
Yeah.
And at that time, we took an exit from that business. We're unsure of what to do next. We spent several years looking at different businesses, different projects, different opportunities. And at the end of the day, I was able to convince my brother that my best friend, Bill Fuller, since I was 10 years old, a pioneer in Little Havana, had this idea to bring Ball and Chain back to life. He controlled the property. He had actually come to me with that idea in about the early 2000s, but at that time, didn't have the time, money, know-how, or expertise or ability to leave my family business. And come full circle in about 2015-ish, we decided to sign a lease over there and bring the historic Ball and Chain back to life. So I know that's a little bit of a long-winded story,
Awesome,
but I mention it because I had no idea that following my passion at that time, just as a side hustle, so to speak, would pay the dividends and come full circle so many years later when it was time to open our own venue. And I had already learned through trial and error and through experience how to market, how to reach people, what it takes to throw a good party, and so on. So,
well, I've had many a late nights at Ball and Chain, so you know
I like to hear that.
you know how to throw a good party, that's for sure. So what did you have? I mean, I don't hear any experience as far as, knowing how to run a venue, or I mean, you had experience, knowing how to run a party, but I mean, on the scale that you've had with the other businesses, I mean, was that just figure it out?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that, again, studying business in undergrad, and then when we ran our waste and recycling company, business is business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
What's interesting in the hospitality world, or in the hospitality field, is we can pro forma opening up Ball and Chain all we want. But at the end of the day, the numbers are going to look as good or as bad as you want them to be. And while pro formas are very important, there was really no way to know. There was no modernized nightlife in that neighborhood in many, many years. There are some great venues that were there before us. By no means did we invent Calle, because its history is storied long before we arrived. But basically, we didn't really know what to expect, and we kind of hit the ground running over there and never stopped. I had a honeymoon that was scheduled to take place or to be planned right after we opened, and here I am 6 years later. I have not taken that honeymoon yet. So my wife reminds me, and one day I promise we will go. Just we got to get things back to normal.
So so it's probably, has it changed a little bit, those late nights shows? I know you've got 2 kids and 1 on the way. Has that changed? Has your schedule changed a little bit?
My schedule has definitely changed. Number one, I am not the night owl that I once was. I need my sleep. But at the end of the day, like anything, you do what you have to do to get the job done. The first 2 years that we had Ball and Chain, I was probably there 70, 80 hours a week. And then from there, we've enough to find good people. I mean, we're only as good as our team. Prior to the zombie apocalypse, as you mentioned, I think we have the best team we've ever had, not only at Ball and Chain, but at Taquerias, Mexicano, and Los Altos, which we can get into in a second. But you're really only as good as your team. I think that here we are, like 6 years into this, and the team that we have is made up of all stars. And I'm talking about from top to bottom, bottom to top, from servers and bussers to our cantineros, to our management team, to our production team, even to our performers, our musical entertainment and otherwise. I think, we really, 6 years in, have solidified and we're running as best as we ever had prior to the zombie apocalypse.
So, and before we shift maybe to the other 2 spots, Ball and Chain is such a staple here now, right? I mean, everyone knows. Whenever I have family who comes down here, it's like we're always going to Ball and Chain. I mean, it's just kind of a.
That makes us the happiest when people say they bring their family and friends from out of town, because that's something that's so important to us.
It's just such a great vibe. What do you think is? I don't know. What would be your opinion? I'd be interested to hear your opinion. What do you think makes it so unique that it's like, it's quintessential Miami, but not like South Beach, Miami. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you totally nailed it. It is basically what I would call the authentic Miami experience. Not that South Beach isn't South Beach
Sure.
and is wonderful,
Yeah.
but it's a totally different experience. At Ball and Chain, there's no VIP. There's no, there is a line at the door because we get crowded, but everyone gets in as long as you're of legal drinking age and properly dressed.
Right.
It's not, oh, you're pretty, you're not, you're with too many guys, you're not. It really is just people that are coming to enjoy the vibe,
Yeah.
enjoy the locals, enjoy the community, and more than anything, enjoy the music. And so that's one of the most special things about Ball and Chain is you could have a group of people in their 30s, and then you could have a group of abuelas and abuelos in their 70s and 80s, and everyone is just there feeling the music. And I think another important part is that we don't ever charge a cover. We've seen many live music venues open and close since we've opened, and it was a decision we made early on. Number one, the original Ball and Chain never charged a cover. So we wanted to pay homage to that. But also, everyone in Miami loves live music, don't get me wrong, but also nobody likes to pay for anything. So everyone's a VIP, so we didn't want to mess around with cover or anything like that. We just want people to come and enjoy the amazing scene and music.
I'm curious. I don't know if it's a long story, but what's kind of the history of the old Ball and Chain? Because I don't know.
Sure. So it's a great question. The original Ball and Chain opened in 1935. And at that time, and it ended up closing in 1957. And basically at that time, many of the great African-American, mostly jazz performers would come down, but they couldn't stay on Miami Beach or perform anywhere on Miami Beach because of segregation and all sorts of, BS.
Right.
Long story short, the original owner of Ball and Chain embraced the African-American community and embraced the jazz artists, and he had them play at Ball and Chain, everyone from Billie Holiday, Count Basie, Lena Horne, Louis Armstrong, like some of the greats. And we actually when we wanted to reopen, and in 1957, an interesting story is that Ball and Chain closed because the original owner did not pay Count Basie for a performance, and Count Basie sued him. The original owner said the heck with it and shut it down. So we spent tireless hours along with Dr. Paul George, a very famous local historian who helped us piece together the story, in searching through the periodicals of that time from the 1930s to the 1950s, and found the original ads of how they ran for Ball and Chain. You would think in today's day and age, you could just Google search it, but it's not that easy because it doesn't pull up the advertisements in these old periodicals. So what we did, we were able to locate original ads of Billie Holiday, Chet Baker, Count Basie, and we actually reproduced them, but exactly how they looked back then, and it hangs on our walls today.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's the story. Very cool. So and then I guess shifting a little. I didn't know that story, but shifting a little bit now to the other spots. Maybe tell us a little bit about those.
Sure. With the success of Ball and Chain, we then decided to create our parent company, which was Mad Room Hospitality. We got the name Mad Room because Mad Room was the original name of the VIP room at the Ball and Chain. It was called the Mad Room. So, and we have some plans in the future to do something very special with the Mad Room name, but I cannot reveal that yet. And we basically wanted to, we felt that we were very fortunate that we were able to act as stewards for this amazing Ball and Chain brand. And when we launched Ball and Chain, it was, if Ball and Chain had never shut its doors in the late 1950s, what would it look like and what would it be like today? And when we reopened our doors, that's what we had in mind with the 3 A's: affordable, authentic, and accessible. So we wanted to take those same values and see what we could do to relaunch other historic brands. And then basically, we had been fans of Taquerias or Mexicano, where many people do not even recognize the name, but they recognize the iconic building that's on 8th Street, 10 blocks from Ball and Chain, closer towards the Brickell area. It's got murals all over it. It's got bright neon, and everyone knows the building. Not everyone knows the name. The 3 owners, myself, Bill Fuller, and Ben Bush, and our families had eaten at that restaurant. We all grew up in Miami. We'd eaten there for many, many years. Very authentic, very affordable, very accessible. And when we had the opportunity to take over that business, we jumped at it. We had the opportunity to acquire the property and the business.
Oh, wow.
And basically we acquired that, and we didn't know enough about Mexican food. We took many trips to Mexico. We did know the hospitality and the food and beverage world, but each cuisine is its own beast, so to speak. So we didn't even announce that we took over that restaurant for almost 2 full years. It took us that long to keep everything the same, make some small changes. The food was always good there and affordable. The biggest thing that we did was we turned the kitchen into a scratch kitchen, where everything is made from scratch. Our own chips, our own tortillas, everything is made fresh daily. And that's something that we're very, very proud of. And it was something that was very important to us to any changes that we did make, to make slowly and to make sure that our customer base was okay with it. Because Taquerias El Mexicano, long before we put our hands into it, had been around for 30 something years. They were doing something right. And we did not want to alienate any of those guests, while at the same time we felt that we could provide value in bringing in new guests. Yeah. And then of course upstairs, was pretty much a space that had been part of the restaurant that they had stopped using many years ago for various reasons. And we basically took over that space. We still serve food up there, but we turned it into a cool, hidden speakeasy, tequila, mezcal, agave driven cocktail bar. That's basically hidden behind a 30-something-year-old Mexican dulceria, which we took inspiration from on one of our many trips to Mexico.
Yeah, I think so. Taqueria, I moved down here 11 years ago.
Okay.
I moved here from Honduras, actually.
Oh, wow.
But family's in Tennessee, but I was working in Honduras. And so I was always kind of like looking for just miscellaneous places. And I was just driving down Calle, and I was like, that place looks like I need to go eat there. I've been going there since there. So. And
I mean, it's very affordable. And that's the same way we felt when we first discovered it 30 years ago. It's like, it's not a hole in the wall, but it's kind of like it looks like it's storied. It's been there, and it's very authentic. And when you're eating any sort of cuisine from a specific country, you want to go where you feel it's going to be the most authentic, and that's what we've tried to do there.
So what is your, because just the businesses are similar, but also very unique, and I can tell just in speaking with you that you're very obviously passionate about it. But I'm guessing there's a creative part of you that just kind of loves putting all of this together and make it work.
So that's a great question. When you open or take over a new venue and you want to make some changes, it's almost like I don't know personally, but from seeing my wife go through it, it's almost like giving birth, where basically you have to live, breathe, bake these concepts. It's not that you just, we have concepts that we've written down and given some ideas to, but aren't nearly ready to conceive yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the magic of these process, the biggest joy that I get at Ball and Chain, originally I used to love, and I love live music and go, and I would enjoy the bands, and I still do. But the biggest gift is basically creating something and watching a diverse group of people come together and enjoy it. There's no greater reward in what we do. And I think what all hospitality venues do in creating what I would say is the magic. And the magic for us is creating these happy places where people come together in the community, local and beyond, and celebrate life's greatest moments.
That's awesome. Beautifully said. Just a couple more. I know we're running on time here, but so do you have plan? I know you said some stuff's a secret in the works, but you've got more stuff. Are we going to see more?
Yes, I certainly hope so. Now is a very challenging time with coronavirus, so everything is on hold. But it was our plan to have 2 new venues open later this year, in 2020, and a third in 2021. All focused in the Calle, Little Havana neighborhood, but we are looking at other projects as well. We've been approached for various projects, but we move very, very slowly. It's almost, I go back to my days when I was promoting parties. We used to say, you're only as good as your last party. Yeah. You can throw the greatest party for 3 years, and if your last 2 parties or your last party stinks, people are going to stop coming. Yeah. And it's the same way in our business. Restaurants, everyone's a reviewer, everyone's a critic. You can go to a restaurant for 10 years and have the best meal. You go and have one bad experience, you might not go back for 6 months. You might not ever go back.
True.
So we try to be very, very careful. We're not looking for rapid growth. We're just looking for the right opportunities where we think we can either add our touch or create our touch and bring something special to life.
Okay.
So yeah, we do have big plans though.
Stuff in the works
Yeah,
amidst this craziness. I always like, I always like to leave, the viewers, people watching, you obviously built a successful business, doing it the right way, great brand, everyone loves it. What kind of advice maybe would you give maybe to your younger self or to professionals, maybe whether or not in the hospitality industry or not, just about wanting to start their own thing?
sure. I mean, I would say that, and that's a great question. I would say that the only thing stopping you is you. And I know that might sound trite, it might sound cliche, but it's true. And I go back to, a good example is when my first child was born and I wrote a children's book. I never set out to be an author, but I was so moved by emotion that I wanted to get this thing and share it with the world, no matter what time it took. And that was not something I did for a financial reason. No one in the arts does what they do, at least initially, for financial reasons. And everyone at the time told me I was crazy. It's impossible to get published. Just self-published, which again, there's nothing wrong with self-publishing, but I didn't know anything about putting together a book. And the more that people, oh, that's a phase. I was there when when we first had a kid. And the more that people told me this stuff, the more I just wanted to get it done.
Yeah.
And here I am, the book came out, I think 2 years ago, and it's a national bestseller, which is way beyond anything that I would have ever fathomed. But it basically, if you set your mind to do something, you can get it done. And that basically to follow your passion and follow your heart. And that if you feel that you're stuck it's my opinion that especially early on for some of the younger professionals, you are going to most of the time pay your dues in whatever field that you're in. But it's important to always be learning and to always surround yourself with people that can teach you. If you're not happy and you're not learning, you're in the wrong place. You have to be at least one of the two. And then ultimately in your career, you want to have both.
Yeah.
You want to be learning always. I learn from my director of operations and my general managers all the time. They have both made me be a better owner because I've learned from them stuff that I did not know. And it's important to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you in certain things and to follow your passion. I guess that would be my number one piece of advice.
A lot of good nuggets in there, man. Lot
Yeah,
of
right.
stuff. So, and then lastly, I know everything's kind of shut down right now, but are you all, can people still come out, support you or
I'm grateful that you asked. We need the support. When I say that is that we're there for the community. We feel to provide a place to celebrate, but we love the support. We're open for delivery and takeout at Ball and Chain, at Taquerias or Mexicano. You can find us at calleototacos.com, ballandchainmiami.com. You can order directly from us or, third party, Uber, Postmates, Grubhub, delivery dudes, the whole deal. But yeah, I appreciate you asking because every order helps. We're really using that to retain the team. We're not looking at these times right now as turning a profit because that's virtually impossible. We're doing what we can to tread water and to keep as many of the team employed as we can because the community needs it.
Yeah. Well, brother, it's interesting times, man. I thank you for being with us today. And when this all ends, I'm going to meet you guys at Ball and Chain or something. And
absolutely. Your next mojito's on me.
Awesome, brother. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Bye.